watching Santa's waiting. Christmas Eve is slowly fading. Can you hear him in the night? Close the door, turn out the light.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Eternal Midnight. I'm Chad, and tonight, no Santino this evening, but I'm joined by two guests. We've got Ken, back from the Rocky franchise.
Hey, what's going on, everyone?
And we are joined by Matt, the host of Film Feast. What's going on, man?
Not much, man. Chad, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
No problem. Welcome. Glad to have you guys here. So, being the Christmas season, we decided what was something that the three of us had in common. Well, we all love horror films. And what better way to get this going than to talk about two of the we'll say best Christmas horror films, even though there's so many better ones out there. But Silent Night, Deadly Night 1 and 2, and it's funny because I didn't even. It's one of those movies where I personally don't even know many people who know them. Obviously, within the horror community, I know a ton of people that do. But if I say to just like your average person, hey, you ever heard of Silent Night, Deadly Night? And they're like, oh, that sounds like, what is that? Like a horrible Christmas film? And I'm like, never mind. So, before we dive into the movies themselves, how did you guys find them initially? Like a trip to the video store, a review, or online?
Well, I can say Ken actually showed the first one to me. I had not seen it till just a couple years ago. I'd heard about it, the Killer Santa movie, but I did not know about it till Ken showed it to me. So I don't know how Ken found it, actually.
So it's actually really funny. I think it was sort of at that point where I was getting into, and I've talked to Matt about this, my age of about 14, 15, excuse me, where I was first getting into horror, and I was first actually getting into, more modern horror, like slashers, and because before that, all I was into was like classic monster movies. But I guess it was like Christmas time, and I like looked up like scary Christmassy movies or something, and I found this list, and yeah, it just talked about the first Silent Night, Deadly Night, and on the list it just has that poster of the killer's hand coming out of the chimney holding the axe. And I'll be honest, I watched the trailer because they had the trailer attached, and I was like creeped out by the trailer. I'm like, this is gonna be a really scary movie. And we can get into the film's quality, but Chad, how did you discover it?
Mine was I was watching some movie review online or something, and somebody did a cutaway joke to one of the most infamous lines of all time from the second movie. And I was like, what the hell was that? And I like put a message on the YouTube video. I'm like, what the hell's Garbage Day? And they're like, oh, it's Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2. And I'm like, okay. I was like, I want to watch that.
Part 2?
I was like, I want to watch the first one first. So it was like, I basically had to do some backtracking, and then I knew nothing about either of these going into them. And the first one, I was like, this is damn good. And I started watching the second one. I'm like, what the hell is this? I'm like, did they make like what? We'll dive more into the second one in a bit, but it was just, I was like, what? Is this an actual movie? Like, I almost thought it was like a fan made bootleg at first.
Makes a lot of sense, actually.
That's what I thought. I'm like, this looks cheap. I don't understand why they're just playing clips of the first. We'll get into it later.
There's a lot to say. There's a lot to talk about.
But let's start at the beginning with the original Silent Night, Deadly Night. Ken, you want to start us off with just like your initial thoughts on this movie?
Yeah, so the original Silent Night, Deadly Night, I was actually, so when I first got into more modern horror, I specifically seeked out slasher movies because I had seen, the first Halloween. That was like my introduction. I'm like, cool, I got the bug now. Like, slasher movies, that's what I want to see. And it was getting close to Christmas time, and I'm just like, all right, well, there's Halloween. That's a Halloween one. Is there a Christmassy one? And there's Black Christmas. But I was actually I think I saw Silent Night, Deadly Night before I saw Black Christmas. And it's goofy. It's got some silly moments, But there are some parts where it's just like, aside from the fact that he's dressed as Santa Claus, this is like a pretty good slasher movie. It's got good fun kills like a slasher movie should have. And I actually gotta say the score is pretty creepy on this one.
When you said the score, I thought you were going to talk about the best part of this movie to me is the.
We'll get to it. But go ahead.
Oh,
go
God,
ahead.
I want to jump in so bad. I don't know how you do it on the show. We
No,
go
go
from one
for it.
piece to another. Listen, the song Warm Side of the Door might be one of the lost Christmas classics that has the montage of this movie is so good. Forget about the score, Ken. It's all about Warm Side of the Door is what we're talking about. This movie, I will say this. I'm going to jump in here. This might be one of the most tonally confused movies I've ever seen in my life. It doesn't, like, that Warm Side of the Door montage, if anyone doesn't know what I'm talking about, you need to see just the montage at least, and you'll be, this isn't a killer Santa slasher movie, because the opening after, I don't want to, but there's a very violent, horrible scene near the beginning that is so upsetting, and then you get like 20 minutes later you get this nice like montage scene. It's like, what is this movie? That was my initial thoughts, is what is this movie and who made this thing? Sorry, Kate, you can kind of explain what the movie's about because I don't even know how to begin.
Yeah, no, it's actually funny. I remember, Matt, when I first showed you this movie, and it sort of reaches the point where Billy's in the orphanage. And
Poor kid.
and you asked
his
me,
whole life destroyed in like 30 seconds.
Oh my God.
Killer Santa.
So upsetting.
but Matt asked me, he's just like, hey, Ken, what actually is the plot of this movie? Like, is that guy going to come back and like find this kid later on? And I was like, just watch it, just watch. But
No, I mean, that's a good question because it really is like, that's what I like about this and what I feel almost like separates this from so many other movies is that it's like you said, you're watching it and it's like, what is this? Like, is there going to be like a revenge plot? Like the Santa tried to get away and the kid knows who it is and the guy's paranoid he's going to come back and kill him because he was a witness or something. And then it's like, and slowly we're seeing it's more of a character study of the psychological trauma that this child went through and what he's still going through. And it's like, obviously the film tries to portray Mother Superior as the villain, but it's like, to me, while I think some of her methods may have been a little unnecessary, you can still see that Mother Superior, while rough around the edges, she did just want what was best for Billy. I think, Ken, like you said, when I was talking to you, she had the moment where she beat him, locked him in his room, but then she brought him out, asked him, is everything okay? Very kind to him, gives him a present and says, you're good now. It's like, this woman is not like pure evil of a villain. But what always cracks me up is it's like, for a movie in an orphanage and these kids are being taken care of by nuns, this nun is more focused on this kid being grateful to Santa Claus for bringing him presents than the religious aspect.
That's a really good point, actually.
yeah, it's like, isn't this supposed to be about Jesus?
Right. And she's like, you will sit on Santa Claus's lap and you will say thank you. It's like, what? Shouldn't you be saying the exact opposite?
I mean, yeah, it's like people should understand why this kid is traumatized of Santa. Like, I don't know if he never told anybody.
Yes.
I mean, he watches Santa murder his dad and then sexually assault and murder his mom and barely escapes with his life. And I'm like, yeah, this time I watched and said, I'd be pretty fucked up too because that's horrified. It's like, Christmas is ruined forever. Good job. It's like, and everyone's pushing Santa on this poor guy. Oh my God. I'm sorry. I'm back to the montage again because listen, I can conserve with this montage for 3 hours. This Warm Side of the Door montage when they unfurl a banner and Santa's face is on it, and poor Billy, and an adult now working the store, his face just changes. Wow. You can see he's just like, I'm gonna kill now.
He just Santa goes from like, I love this job, I love my coworkers. They unveil the banner and just, oh God damn it.
He's like, God damn it, Santa's back.
And it sort of makes you think, like, I actually thought about this. Sister Margaret, who's very nice and very lovely, is like, did she not think ahead? Like, hey, a toy store at Christmas might actually be an issue.
He might see some Santa Claus stuff there. Whoops. Oh, well.
In retrospect, this was a bad idea.
It's like everyone knows what happened to him, but they all seem to forget about it at the same time.
Yep. Or they just don't care. I'm not sure.
Like Mother Superior, I think she straight up said, like, like I think you said Sister Margaret when she was talking to Mother Superior earlier, she's like, the memories are still with him. And Mother Superior's like, he doesn't have any memories of something he doesn't even know about. And it's like, he watched what happened. What do you mean he has no memories?
You don't forget. You don't forget that. Oh my God! It's.
I mean, he's got better memories than we'll find out that his brother had in the next one.
Yeah, that I have questions about. But yeah, but Billy makes sense. I mean, like I get it for him, but oh man, this movie, I don't even know what direction to head into because there's so many avenues to go.
Well, I think Ken was telling me something that you guys were talking about Mr. Sims.
Also part of the montage.
Look, when Billy first shows up and Sister Margaret's like, oh, here's Billy now. And he just walks up with his like sleeves rolled up. Mr. Sims looks him up and down. I'm just like, Mr. Sims is very interested in Billy.
Yeah, he gives him the old 1-2 look over, and he's like, I'll hire Billy. That's not how he talks, but that's how I imagine he speaks. And then in the montage, he's like checking him out more. Like Billy's just working, he's in the back smiling, kind of looking like, oh yeah, lift that box.
Or was it when he's wasted on Christmas Eve and he's talking to him? He's like got his hands all over him, and he's like, he's like, a boy should spend Christmas with his family. My parents are dead. Oh, and he's like hugging him. I'm like, whoa.
Oh my God.
Aside from, I guess, his one coworker, it's like, you have to feel awful for every single person that got killed in that toy store, too.
Oh, yeah.
Like obviously, when watching a slasher film, it's like 9 times out of 10, most people like don't deserve the deaths that they get. Like, not everyone's a Melissa from Friday the 13th Part 7. But it's like half these people are just like, they're nice to him, they're working with him, they're friendly with him, and then they just all get hammered to the head. Well, the guy at the rapist deserved what he got.
Right, that guy did deserve it.
That part always cracks me up too. Billy stops him from doing what he's doing, kills him, and then the girl starts going psycho on him. It's like, no thank you.
I mean, he went a little far, let's be real, but I mean, he stopped a rape. It's a pretty heroic thing.
He went a little hardcore to stop it, but I mean, still, he did stop it.
And then Sims gets a hammer to the head, and whoever that lady was it ever established what her job was at that place? Or did she just kind of hang out?
Assistant manager? I have no idea what she was.
That's what I imagine.
I have no idea.
She got one
Poor
of the best
woman.
deaths, though. Arrow right through her spine.
And I questioned, like, man, Billy is very proficient with this bow and arrow.
When did he learn archery? With the nuns? Did they teach him? I also, in both movies, why are both the main guys so ripped? Why are they both in such good shape? When are they working out? They're just like, Santa, punish, naughty, lifting weights, screaming. I just was like, well, you guys are really good shape for psychotic people. I mean, what was he doing?
It's true, yeah, like Ken said, when he's standing there earlier, like with his sleeves rolled up, it's like, wow, he went from a scrawny, abused kid in an orphanage to like ripped and it's like, he had to have been 17, maybe 18, but it's like, he certainly wasn't at the orphanage anymore if he was over 18.
Yeah. Well, I think that's part of the idea is like, Sister Margaret needed to like get him a job because it's like, okay, you're 18 now, we can't house you anymore.
We gotta get you out of here. Yeah.
Go work at a toy store at Christmas time. It's funny, between the 3 actors who played Billy in this movie, while I think the one who played Billy at age 18 did a good job, I genuinely probably enjoyed the performance of 8-year-old Billy the most, because it's like, I felt that's almost where it was like the most conflict in the character really was, like witnessing those two people having sex in the room, which the part that cracked me up about that is like, if you looked at those two, they both looked like they were in their mid-20s, and it's like a couple of 20-year-olds just hanging out in an orphanage having sex.
That's their spot. That's where they like to go.
And Mother Superior with her like psychic ability is able to know people are having sex upstairs or something. Like, she just knew what was going on. She burst in and beat the shit out of both of them.
Yeah, no questions asked.
She was like a sex bloodhound. She could smell it from a mile away. so crazy. And it's funny because we talk about how crazy this movie is, but this time I rewatched it, I was like, I think I really genuinely like this movie because it really moves along. It's super entertaining. I mean, it's so crazy, but it's like, you know what? It's something. I don't know. It's different.
What I like about it is it's like you get the big jump at the beginning with what happens to Billy's parents. Then I've seen some people be like, the middle is so boring. I'm like, but the middle is like the most important part of the movie. Without the middle, you just have a completely forgettable slasher film. But it's like we're watching the story of a boy clearly traumatized by something awful that happened to him, which no one if that happened to anyone on the planet, they might not snap like he did, but they would be extremely messed up. So it's like you need that middle part to have this character development of showing his fear, showing what kind of lifestyle he's now living in with the nuns and what he's going through, what they're trying to teach him, try to help him get over it, but doing it wrong. And in the process, making it worse. So it's like when we do get to the part where he snaps, it makes sense. And I mean, yeah, is there plenty of bad writing in this? Yeah. So there's pretty bad writing, some stuff that's pretty inconsistent. But it's like once you get to the killing, that's when it's just now we're having a good time. But you needed that middle part for the killings to like make sense as opposed to just we're here to watch people get killed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, one thing that I think does make this movie unique, and I think I've told both of you about this, is it's one of the very few slasher movies I can think of where the main character that we follow is the killer. Like in most slasher movies, Laurie Strode is the main character of Halloween. Nancy is the main character of Nightmare on Elm Street. Marion Crane is the main character of Psycho. Well, actually, that's a bad example. But but you know what I'm saying. In this one, we see the killer. We know most slasher movies, the killer is pretty mysterious, and we don't learn much till the end. In this one, we know all about Billy.
Yeah, there's a shocking amount of character development in this movie. In a weird way, this might sound insane. It kind of reminds me of the Rob Zombie Halloween because they do all this early stuff when you set him up as a kid and why he's the way he is. Yeah, a lot of slasher movies don't take that time. The slasher's like some guy that just appears and they follow the final girl. But yeah, there's actually a lot of time spent with Billy and why he's the way he is. We're up to the point of him snapping. I mean, it's kind of crazy that we're all the way with him till that point. It's very different. I'll go say that. So
well, and what definitely works about it is I've heard this example before when people have talked about like the Platinum Dunes remakes where they're like, they're taking the killers that originally originated in the 70s and 80s and they're giving them too much backstory and we're making them sympathetic as opposed to scary. Which, yeah, that's true. The original Freddy, Jason, Michael, they were mysterious, and that's what was scary about them. But with Billy, instead of just a little bit of character development, it's all, and that's still what makes him scary, is it's the exact opposite. We're knowing exactly what he's going through, why he snapped, and we're able to look at him and be like, while he's killing people, some of them maybe deserve it, some don't, but you still pity this kid who's lived an extremely shitty life. And finally, just something from his past triggered him. He snapped, and boom, this is what we got from it. I thought it was genius.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, it's funny because like a guy like Freddy Krueger, like that won't happen in the real world. There could be Billy's just a crazy guy who just snaps one day. It's a very extreme circumstance, very specific to Christmas. But I feel like the older I get, the more I get scared of. This word does not scare me, by the way, but like just the idea of like normal people snapping because the crazy people are out there and they could just kill people on a whim, and so that's interesting that he's just this guy has a traumatic incident and lives his whole life and then one day he just loses it. As silly as the movie can be at sometimes, they're trying, although it is strange because I was reading about the director a little bit. I don't know if you guys read about this, that
Charles Sellier.
Yeah, that he seems like he didn't want to make a horror movie. I read some piece of trivia that was like many of the kill scenes weren't directed by him because he was uncomfortable with gore heavy parts. I'm like, why'd you make a slasher movie?
Yeah, well, apparently so in my DVD of Silent Night Deadly Night, there's actually an audio interview with him. And I listened to that, and apparently, yeah, he's a practicing Christian, and he produced Grizzly Adams.
Right. Oh yeah, you told me that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was he a practicing Christian when this movie came out?
Yes, they specifically said that in the interview. They're like, "So were you a practicing Christian when this movie was made?" He's like, "Yeah, I was." And I guess for him, and this is pretty interesting. This sort of goes to what Chad and I were saying, and Matt too. It's like what he was mostly concerned about was this story about this character, this boy that was traumatized, and the life he had gone through.
Yeah, and now it's funny. I'm thinking about the fact that the kill scenes were directed by someone else and not the guy who did the rest of it, because they do feel kind of disconnected, especially that scene on the sled with the two guys. One gets like decapitated. It's like some of the kill scenes seem like they're from a different planet compared to like the rest of what's happening. So I can almost see if that guy took those off and then someone else did them, that they don't feel they connect. Like this guy was like, I'm gonna make these super brutal, and the other director was like, probably came back and was like, what the hell is this? What did you do?
Yeah, it's not as grounded in reality as the rest of the movie.
No.
You added a scene of Linnea Quigley.
Yeah, he never has a shirt on.
I'm sorry, I always love that scene where she's like, oh, I have to go let the cat in. She opens the front door and just stands in the front door in the middle of winter with her tits hanging out, calling the cat. I'm like, not cold there, Linnea? And then picked up and impaled on a deer's head. I'm like, that's beautiful.
Which I think is everyone's favorite kill in this movie.
Oh, easily.
I do like that sled one a lot, though. I don't know, the way that's set up, I enjoy that one.
Yeah.
Then jump into the end. That scene where it's like you're wondering is like it's like obvious, like, the movie's almost done. Billy's gonna be stopped, but it's like, is he gonna take out Mother Superior? Is he gonna get his almost like mental revenge, where it's like this woman has been like, while he's snapped, it's like she's been like the bane of his existence this whole time, and it's like, is he going to take her out? And you're sitting there almost like you want her to die, but at the same time you're like, she didn't cause him to snap, so it's like which side do you really want? And then just boom, blasted away, and it's like, oh, poor kid.
Yeah. Poor Billy.
I want to say, Matt, I believe when I first showed you this, we were sitting at it's now your house, but it was your friend Chris's house at the time. But we were there, and that scene towards the end where the cop sort of goes into the basement and searches around, we were like, part of us were thinking like, man, they're really padding out the runtime with this. But at the same time, him sort of turning around, looking every corner, it builds tension.
Yeah, it's not a movie I find scary at all. I don't find it super tense, honestly. I just mostly am shocked. Like I was watching today, it's like every few minutes something crazy happens. So you're kind of like kept on that.
Yeah.
Or if you kind of get out of it, you're like, oh, something crazy happened again. I'm back. It's just like every few minutes something crazy gets thrown at you. And yeah, I mean, it's funny. It's like a very short movie. It's not even like an hour and a half long.
I think it's an hour 28.
Yeah, I think it was weird. We're thinking the second one was longer somehow, but yeah, it's not long, and it just. I didn't think it was very slow this time. I thought it kind of moved pretty well. There's a couple of dead spots, but yeah, every few minutes you're gonna have something where you're like, "What? What are we doing right now?"
Yeah, so I mean, overall, the first one I think definitely works. I think it's one where I would definitely say to a lot more people, like everyone watches Gremlins, oh, Gremlins is my Christmas horror film, but it's like, if you haven't seen this, I definitely say branch out and watch it. But then again, if you're listening to us, I'm going to assume you've already watched it, or we just spoiled everything. So
now you can't spoil the experience.
Exactly.
You got to hear Warm Side Door for yourself.
That's right.
And it's like Ken brought that up to me, and it was like, then next thing I know, I like listened to the song like 5-6 times in a row, and I'm like, well, great, this nice little 80s song stuck in my head for the rest of the
We played it for like a year and a half.
Okay, so that's something really neat. First of all, I gotta ask Chad, did you listen to the extended cut of it?
Of the song?
Yeah.
No, you'll have to send it to me.
Oh, it's even longer. But what's so funny is, proud of Matt is very opposed to like watching things out of season, or like taking in like
out of season, like keep it away.
Yeah, he's very opposed to it. This not Silent Night, Deadly Night the movie, but the song "Warm Side of the Door," like because we work together, and back when we were working in the office and we would like take car rides to go get lunch, we would just listen to that song year round. It's
Randomly.
the one piece of Christmas material I've gotten mad to appreciate
Yep.
year round.
Any time of year you play Warm Side of the Door, it's fine. It's a great, wonderful song that we just loved. It was like ironically, and it became like a genuine like, no, I love this song.
It's like I'm just like listening to it and then I'm like rewatching it almost with that new context. I'm like knowing how much you guys liked it. I'm like, this is something that I'm like, you stick this song like in front of a sitcom or something, and it's like,
yeah.
like the end of the song, it's like that part where like all the characters like smile at the camera or something, and it's like shows the title of the show.
Yeah. Well, and I just love like the final delivery of the line is just like, on the warm side of the door.
Well done, well done. And that part feels like it was directed by the like born again Christian guy, and like nothing else in the movie was done by him. It's like he got this one montage in and then did nothing else, is what it feels like.
Yeah, pretty much.
He's like, this is the movie, right? And they were like, oh no, that's not what we're doing here.
They're like, yeah, you can do all the talky psychological stuff. We got somebody else ready to do all the scenes where he murders everyone.
Oh boy.
So, Silent Night, Deadly Night, yeah, definitely to me an underrated Christmas slasher classic. I'd say I think it's way better than most people give it credit for.
It's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. I think it's grown in popularity, but still needs to be on more people's Christmas list.
I think it mostly grew in as weird as this sounds, I almost feel like it grew in popularity though because of its sequel.
Yeah.
I almost feel like the resurgence of this film came from Garbage Day becoming like a meme. And from there, it was like, everyone's like, oh my God, this movie's junk. And then they're just like, well, you kind of got to lump the first one in with the second one. And it's like, the first one's really good. It's just really like underrated. And so now moving on to Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2. Oh, what the hell is this movie?
What? Yeah. What in the hell? Okay, so if anybody's, I'll take the lead. If anybody doesn't know that they reuse, I would say 45 minutes of footage from Silent Night, Deadly Night, maybe less. I don't know. I'm rounding up probably, but they use so much footage from the first movie to pad out this movie, and then it goes off in insane directions when it finally does do its own thing. I was thinking I can't describe the plot. So there was Ken, if you want to take the lead on the plot, I don't know. Good luck, my friend.
I think Ken, you said this was your first time watching it.
So I could have sworn it was. Matt has said that we watched it together a year or so ago. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, maybe my memory's just failing me. Maybe I was just like lumping them together because it uses so much footage from the first movie. And actually, when I listened to the audio interview with the director of the first movie, he apparently was not happy with how much of his footage they used to pad out this damn movie. He was like unhappy. He's like, hey, royalties, please.
Well, because it's weird if you think about it. This movie is like divided into thirds. It's flashbacks of the first movie, which half don't make any sense in the context that they're shown. Then there's the second third, which is flashbacks after the first movie, but before the current story we're at. And the final third is like 5 minutes, and even that makes no sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we gotta point out, it's like, there is no way Ricky would remember these things that he was not present for.
He was a baby, right? He's in the car as an infant.
Well, I believe even the doctor asked him, how could you possibly remember that? And we get the best answer of all time, because I was there.
That's my love that line in that reading.
And I'm pretty sure I'm not very informed on childhood psychology, but I'm pretty sure you actually like don't develop like memories until age 4, I think.
Definitely not being a baby. He's like a 1-year-old.
Yeah, what happened in the car? It's not possible that Ricky ever could have remembered that. It's absolutely not. But I mean, it also takes a special talent to remember what Billy saw when looking through the peephole at the two people having sex. I mean, that's a new level of creating memories.
Yeah, that, and like when he kills the guys on the sled, Ricky's just like, Billy hated bullies. It's just like, how do you know that he's
remembering things he wasn't there for? It makes no sense. It's like, these are other people's memories. You can't remember this.
And it's funny because it's like the one memory he should have that really should have messed. You don't even dwell on it, which was the cop gunning down the Santa as Ricky was going to like shake his hand, this guy gets blown away in front of him. His blood splatters on Ricky. And going back to that scene from the first one, I love it when the nun sees it. She comes out, she's like, Ricky, come on inside. It's like, this child just saw a grown man get murdered right in front of him, and you're just like, it's no big deal, come on. But it's like they never even dwell on how much that should have messed him up.
That's a good point. Yeah, they really don't focus on that enough at all. It's kind of like Tommy Wiseau moment. It's like, don't worry about it. Like, as the Santa Claus is murdered in front of you, just walk away. Yeah, I don't know. This movie boggles my mind whenever I watch it because I'm shocked at the amount of footage they reuse. I'm shocked at how he's not even like a killer Santa till the very end. He's going around killing people in a blue sweater. He has the infamous garbage day line.
Garbage day! Huh? No!
Garbage day! Which, Chad, you reminded me, I had seen that clip years ago, like in the infancy of like YouTube, in like a montage of random clips of movies. And for years, I was like, what the fuck was that garbage day thing from? And it's this. And it's like one of the most famous, like kind of short clips of a movie where everyone's like, what the hell was that? Where he says garbage day and shoots a man. God, and can you imagine coming outside your house and that guy's walking on the street? The one guy's walking out to get the paper and he gets shot. He just like, damn it.
This guy's just setting his trash can down and then he just gets blown away. It's like, all right, okay.
Man, this guy, Eric Friedman, who played Ricky, might give one of the greatest or worst, you be the judge, like crazy person performances of all time. He's so insane in this. I don't even know how to judge the performance.
Put him and Tommy Wiseau in a movie together.
Oh, God.
Please.
Matt, you say you don't know how to judge him. I say judge him by the eyebrows.
Yeah.
He raises those eyebrows.
After you pointed it out to me, I noticed it. I'm like, all he does is raise his eyebrows.
With every syllable he says, they get
That's
lifted.
his one acting note is like, move your eyebrows more. Did you see the IMDb trivia note that says Ricky's eyebrows move up and down 130 times?
I don't doubt it.
Seems very reasonable. Might be on the low end of the scale. I'm not sure. I saw that. I laughed so hard that IMDb trivia about his eyebrows moving up and down 130 times.
That's amazing.
Oh.
And Ken, I think you were telling me about where is this man? Like they can't find him or something, or have they found him?
I was mistaken because they couldn't find him for a long while, and then I think in 2013 someone like tracked him down and was able to like do interviews with him, and I think now he's embraced it more. I think he actually appeared in like a parody film of it. Where he like plays himself in the psychology room or whatever again. So he's back in the public eye, I guess.
I'm glad you brought that up. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Chad.
Oh no, you're good. And looking at him, it's like I'd almost say like if this guy had gotten some acting lessons, and like they'd kind of like spruced him up a little more, and I just watching it, I think Ken, you and I talked about this. It's almost obvious like there was no direction that this guy was given at all. But I almost feel like if he'd gotten some acting lessons, maybe worked with a better director, I almost could have seen him almost maybe never being like a big like leading man like a Robert Downey Jr. or something. But it's like he was a good enough looking guy. He was pretty well built. I could have seen him being in more stuff going forward.
Yeah, he could have. Trying to think of like a good person to compare him to, but.
How do you compare his acting abilities to anyone else?
But so you mentioned like getting no direction. I actually just pulled up the Wikipedia page. Apparently, what is it? Director and writer Lee Harry offered him, Freeman, very little in the form of direction, and his co-writer Joseph Earl encouraged the actor's over-the-top performance.
So it's like they knew it like, did they know they were making a bad movie? And this was back in the day where like they knew how to craft a bad movie that was like intentional, but still so bad it's good, maybe? Because it's like we talked about this, like nowadays when you try to make a bad movie, they're just shit. Like the first Sharknado, that one's like bad, but it's fun. But when you get to like Sharknado 6, where like they go back in time and the Tara Reid's riding a pterodactyl or some shit. I'm like, okay, you lost the charm of being so bad it's good. Like you knew you were making trash and you failed.
Yeah, I hate when they get too in the know on their own. It's like Birdemic 2 is like a good example of like the guy clearly had no idea in the first one what he was. It was very like pure, and then it became filtered down to like, oh, I know this is bad. Let me make it like that. I hate that kind of stuff. So yeah, this one I feel like though if they were trying to capitalize on a name, I feel like they probably thought it was trash, but I don't think they were trying to make like a bad movie. They was like, this is a crack movie. Let's make some money. No one probably cared. They knew they were probably reusing a bunch of footage from the first movies. They probably knew this is not high art. I imagine.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Well, I mean, when you have scenes where a man kills a loan shark or whatever by impaling him with an umbrella and then opening it, it's like, what level of artistic quality are we really going for here?
Yeah. Okay, and that scene where he's going on his murder spree, shooting people down, and he's just like, he finds this hilarious, just ha 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 ha. Like the police like point their guns at him, and he just looks ha 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 ha. And I gotta say, the moment in that scene that like blows my mind is like when he shoots at the car, and the car like barely like goes over like a hill and then comes down and it just explodes.
Bingo!
I'm like,
With
what?
And that was the most obvious stunt double of all time.
Oh,
The guy's
yeah.
physique and hair color didn't even match Eric Freeman.
That car comes shockingly close to that guy, though. If you watch that clip, he looks like it almost would graze him if it was like an inch to the other side.
I think I can see him sort of like, like getting out of the way.
He moves like, oh shit, that car was very close to me.
And this was one of those movies with a budget where they're like, we get one shot, so you better make it count. And if you screw it up, I guess that's what's going in the movie.
A stunt guy that died on Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2. That's how you died. Your family has to live with that. This is how you die. I'd be like, you bastards.
No movie is worth dying for, but this one especially is not worth dying for.
And you know they would have used the footage. They would have been like, guy with the cigars, like, give me that footage of the guy dying. Perfect.
They definitely. And if they would have been like, you know what, stick that clip in Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 3, probably. It's like, keep reusing it. Like, we actually caught someone on camera getting killed. Keep going.
Yeah, exactly. Just like, oh, come on, you're really going to use this footage? It's just like, who do you think I am? John Landis? Yes, I'm going to use the footage.
Oh,
sorry. I went a little too far there. My bad.
Can't believe he got it. That bastard.
He knows what he did. But the movie really feels like it forgets to be a movie till like the last like 20 minutes. We're like, oh shit, we gotta like get him in the killer Santa suit. What are we doing? Hold on, like we gotta really wrap this puppy up. It's like they really start moving at the end, and they cram so much into that ending. It's wild. Once again, once you get past all the reused footage, pretty entertaining actually.
Yeah, absolutely. I mentioned this to Chad. One of the nuns mentions, oh, Mother Superior suffered a stroke and retired. But you see her face, it's like, she doesn't look like she had a stroke. She looks like she's been scarred by acid.
Yeah. What?
Like a stroke, like your face like droops a little. She looks like someone threw acid on her.
Right. That was weird.
And it makes me wonder why Lillian Chauvin, who played Mother Superior the first one, she couldn't come back. I mean, the woman just passed away in 2008. It's she was around for Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2. I mean, I don't know many other things she's been in. Maybe she was a big actress back in like the 50s or 60s or something, possibly. But it's like, you almost wonder, like, you did the first one, and I've seen interviews with her. She actually spoke extremely highly of the first one.
Yeah, I was going to ask. I thought you had said that.
I was going to say maybe she hated it, but it's not like she spoke highly of it, so then I don't know why she wouldn't come back.
Yeah, I mean, maybe she saw what it was, and she's like, oh, my job is to chastise Ricky and get my head chopped off. Thanks.
I'll pass.
Oh, man.
Like, the woman they got to portray her looked nothing like her. She didn't have like an ounce of the charisma that the original Mother Superior had.
No, and I love great moment is when she like grabs a butcher's knife to like defend herself, and then she's like at the top of the stairs. She's like, "You're being very naughty, naughty this."
These lines are so bad.
Oh God.
I think Matt, I'm pretty sure you would recognize it. I wasn't sure because Ken said he thought it was his first time. Did you recognize? You recognized Ricky's girlfriend, right? From another
Uh,
slasher film?
I don't. No, I don't think I did.
Really?
No,
Oh,
no.
okay. Robin from Friday the 13th, Part 7.
Son of a bitch. That's my favorite Friday the 13th movie. I'm very mad at myself that I did not recognize her now. Oh man. Yeah, I probably was
She looked
in like
pretty different. I mean, she had like
Yeah.
extremely straight, stringy red hair in Friday the 13th. And this one, she's got like bright, curly blonde hair. So it's like, I could see it, but it's like, I remember the first time watching it, I'm like, that's a chick from Friday the 13th, Part 7.
I am
awesome.
shockingly bad at recognizing actors for some reason. I don't know why. I think I have like facial blindness or something. But I was no, and I probably was in some kind of like fever dream state by the time she showed up in the movie where I'm like, what's happening? Okay, now there's a sex scene. What?
Well,
and once again, why is he in such good shape?
Dude was ripped. But it was funny because it's like when the psychologist is talking to him and he like brings up Jennifer's name and Ricky is just like, Jennifer. And it's like they build her up like she's like this big integral character to his life. And like she barely did anything except sleep with him. And then he kills her. It's like, okay. That's it. That's all.
Oh.
I was like expecting. I was like, maybe she like helps him, like starts like maybe bringing him down the path of get this rage out of you. But then I'm like, oh wait, no, this is Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2. I'm thinking way too hard about how deep this movie could go.
Yeah, you're giving this movie way too much credit, Chad.
I'm not mixing movies here, right? The movie theater scenes in Part 2, right?
Yes.
That's an insane scene. That movie theater scene. First of all, that's no movie theater. That's like a 6-person movie theater. That's like in someone's shed, and then there's that guy in the back who's talking, and like, I don't even know. I just brought it up because it's an insane scene. But I don't know what to say about it.
It was hilarious. Well, and don't forget what movie they were watching. They were watching the first one.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
And I love
So
when
more footage from the first movie.
well, and when he says like, "What's this movie about?" She's like, "Oh, it's great. It's about a man dressed as Santa Claus killing people." He's like, "What?"
Then it goes to the beginning
eyebrows.
of the first one, and he's just like watching it in like absolute horror. It's like, did you not like what was this movie called that you didn't know what it was about? Like, I understand this was the 80s. We didn't have the internet yet, but it's like movies still had titles back then.
Yeah. I want to say another moment that just blew my mind when I saw it was it's in the scene with the psychologist, but it's after he recounts. I will say this. I'll give this to the killers of these two movies is they attack rapists and good for them for that. But after he describes that situation, like the psychologist is just like sitting there, and then he like comes in on his left side and it's just like going too fast for you, Doc. You guys remember what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
And he's just like,
I did laugh really hard at that because I was like, what the fuck is going on?
got really close, and he's like, red car. Good point.
Listen, I think Eric Friedman missed awards that should have been given to him for this performance. It's really very memorable.
I love it because it's like it's one of those performances, like you said, he's given no direction. He was encouraged to do it, and it's like it's almost like if there was like an award for like most entertaining performance,
Yeah.
give it to him because it's great watching him. It's hilarious.
Oh man, yep.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that really wraps it up. Did either of you have any closing thoughts on Silent Night, Deadly Night 2?
Oh man, not that I can think of. I mean, I would advise not watching these too close together because of how much footage. I watched them back-to-back days. That was a mistake because I was like, for the first 40 minutes, I was like, okay, I just saw this. Move on. But maybe watch them like a few weeks apart or a year apart. I don't know, but you should watch
just
both
watch
of them.
the second one.
That's why I told Ken. I was like, Ken, we don't need the first movie anymore, except for we need to watch the Warm Side of the Door montage, which we can find on YouTube.
Well, here's what's really funny. When I first showed Matt the first movie, he was just like, well, Garbage Days from the second one is the only one that you really need because I understand they use a whole bunch of the same footage. And I told Matt, well, yeah, but you should check out the first one. And then we watched it, and then Warm Side of the Door starts. I'm like, you see, Matt, if we skipped the first movie, we would have missed Warm Side of the Door.
And our lives would have been worse for it.
Exactly.
Imagine if imagine if they stuck in a bridged version of that in the second one.
Oh.
Or if they tried to like recapture that wholesome moment with Ricky at one point.
Oh man, that would have been great. Damn. Regrets they didn't do that now. I'm just
So Ken, I think you said there was something you wanted to say trivia wise about the third one, because none of us have seen 3, 4, or 5. Or was it the fifth one?
I haven't seen 3, 4, or 5, but yeah, thank you for bringing that up. It's interesting because the first movie, old-timey Hollywood actor Mickey Rooney said of the first movie, the people that made this movie should be run out of town, or something like that. Mickey Rooney appears in Silent Night, Deadly Night 5, The Toy Maker, which just goes to show, when money talks, bullshit walks.
Yeah.
Right.
Can you imagine they came to him and were like, well, Mr. Rooney, it looks like you need us now.
Look who comes crawling up to us.
Oh, man.
How they made it's hilarious, because this had to have been during that time period when like they just grabbed random scripts and were just like, oh, okay, we got one. Like the third, I think the fourth one is about like witches or something like that. It's called Initiation. So it's almost like they just were like, whatever this is about, just ram some Christmas shit in it, have someone dress up like Santa and murder somebody. We'll call it Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 4.
Right.
Sounds right. I mean, I'm looking at these, the 3, 4, and 5, and yeah, the ratings aren't great. I think one of them is supposed to be especially bad. I think it's Part 3, which is weird because it's directed by Monty Hellman, who's like a pretty famous director from the 60s and 70s. And then Part 4 is by Brian Usna, who's done some good stuff. Yeah, this seems like a Hellraiser type scenario, which where those sequels, they start just saying, we need a Hellraiser movie. And they take a script and they put Pinhead in it. Don't ever go on that path. Yeah.
That was basically 5, 6, 7, and 8 for Hellraiser, wasn't it?
I feel like everything after 4, which is like Hellraiser in space, which is still okay. But truly after that, it's like, I know 5, 6, 7, 8. I think there's more. I don't remember. I watched all of them and I almost lost my mind. But yeah,
wow,
Chad's face. It's like, oh my God, I'm glad you're okay.
God bless you for it, Matt.
It almost
it's like trying to watch all the Children of the Corns or something. It's like,
I don't know why I did it, but I went through it. Yeah, you could tell that they definitely just had a script and slapped Pinhead into it to keep the rights, I think, to the character, and that was it. They're all mostly pretty bad after that.
Well, and it's like this is almost a franchise that like didn't even need to be a franchise. I guess I can understand like 1, absolutely, 2, maybe, but it should have actually been intended to be Part 2. Whereas, because I don't think it was.
As much as I do genuinely like the first movie, it got way more sequels than it deserved.
Well,
yeah. When there's other movies out there that should have probably gotten sequels that never did.
Did you read about the first one was actually doing pretty well financially till it got pulled from theaters because it was getting picketed by all these groups, and I think Siskel went on Siskel and Ebert, and Siskel just like flipped out. He like called out all the names of the executives at the studio, and he was so up in arms about it. And like you watch it now, and like, I mean, there's some pretty dark stuff, especially the opening with the thing, but the kid's parents getting killed. But it's like, I'm surprised there was that much of an uproar. It's just like.
And the funny thing is, like, where was this uproar during Black Christmas or something? And it's like, if you're, and the funny thing is, it's the same thing. It's like, if you're gonna protest like a movie or a video game or a book, you protesting it brings more attention to it than it ever would have received anyways. So it's like, whatever little bit of money it made, because I think like, I mean, modest budget, $750,000, and in its short run, it made $2.5 million. But it's like, it probably wouldn't even have made that if nobody had protested it. It would have just been lumped in with other slashers, and it would have came and gone. Because I mean, this came out in '84. This was during like the boom of the slasher era. So it's like it would have just been forgotten.
So I looked this up. Apparently, it came out November 16th, 1984. A Nightmare on Elm Street came out November 9th, 1984. Silent Night, Deadly Night was outperforming Nightmare on Elm Street before it got pulled.
Wow.
Yep.
and okay, so parents have an issue with a killer Santa, but children being murdered in their sleep. That's okay.
I think Santa was the real problem. Like, all joking aside, because I think Black Christmas, there's no Killer Santa. But I think the problem I keep reading about this one was like they really didn't like that Santa, like someone was just saying as a murderer. They really had a problem with that. Which Christmas Evil came out like 4 years before this. Have you seen Christmas Evil, Chad? I don't know, but also an insane movie where a man dresses as Santa and kills people that has one of the best endings of all time. I think Ken leapt off the couch when I showed it to him, like got to his feet.
Yeah, Matt, we showed each other those movies on the same night. I lost my mind at the ending of Christmas Evil, so you gotta check that out.
Oh, definitely. It's on the list now. I'm adding it as we go on.
Real quick, I want to point out, we totally forgot one of the greatest performances from the first movie, the Grandpa.
Oh my God.
We totally forgot about
that.
He's the scariest part of that damn movie. I remember.
That's true.
That's the first clip I saw on YouTube of this movie before I actually watched the movie. I was genuinely creeped out by that.
Yeah, I mean, his voice is horrifying for a kid. And this kid thinks the guy's basically like a vegetable.
Yeah.
Have you been naughty this year? Yeah. Santa only brings terrible things, or whatever the lines are.
It's just like, you better run for your life. Also, I told Chad this, and Matt, I may have told you this a while back. The grandpa in this movie is in the first Back to the Future.
What?
Remember when Morty first comes back and crashes? Yes.
Oh my God. This is blowing my mind right now.
I saw that. I was like, wait, is that the grandpa from Silent Night, Deadly Night?
Wow. Oh man, that blows my mind. I did not, because I kind of recognized him, but as soon as you said, I was like, I know exactly what guy you're talking about. That's crazy.
Yeah, I didn't even realize it at first too till you brought it up, and I looked it up. I'm like, oh my gosh, you've got to be kidding me. That's awesome. Oh, so Silent Night, Deadly Night. I think we pretty much covered all of it. I mean, yeah, like we established, the first one is, it's got its hokey moments, but overall, it's actually a pretty damn good, solid slasher. And the second one is just one of the like most unintentional, hilarious, wannabe serious movies that just becomes a comedy. Because I mean, how many other movies are out there that are like almost in like the public eye? Like I'm sure there's other movies out there that are just like complete piles of shit that have been forgotten about, that probably never even like made it to DVD. They've just gotten like lost in the era of VHS or something, that were just comprised of scenes from the first movie. It's like, how many other movies do you know that can under that trophy and say, hey, the first third of our movie, all clips from the first one?
Yeah.
Oh, so crazy. So crazy.
Shamelessly slapped on there.
Hey, and we benefited from it.
Part of me does feel like a lot of their budget went to that car explosion. They were just like, oh crap, we can't film much more of the movie. Just use footage from the first one. Fuck it.
It's like Matt said. I mean, all you had to do was look at that quote-unquote movie theater, and you could tell they had
they had no money left.
Film in an actual movie theater. Filmed in some room with like 10 chairs. So, guys, that wraps it up. I'm glad I was joined by both you guys to talk about these movies. I've wanted to talk about them for a while. And when Ken told me you guys were both big fans of them, I'm like, I've got to have these guys. I was like, we got to do this. We have to do this.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. Thanks for having me on. Because I kind of like last minute asked Ken, I was like, Ken, can I please be on that show? Because I really want to talk about these movies.
And when Ken asked, I was like, absolutely. I was like, the more the merrier. No, I was like, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. And Chad, I believe, well, not I believe, I know, we plan on having you over on Film Feast the late January, February.
Sometime. We're gonna have
you guys are ready. Whenever you guys want me, just give me a call and I'll be here. Or I'll be there, because right now you're here on my channel. But before we go, I just want to say, Matt, Ken, where can we find you guys if our listeners are looking for you guys?
Okay. Oh, go ahead, Ken, or you want me to do it?
Well, every time I've been on this, I mean, Matt and Chad, you both know I don't have Twitter. I'm not on that bandwagon. But I mean, you can hear me over on Film Feast. Matt, plug away.
Okay. Yeah, you can find the Film Feast podcast anywhere you can get podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. I think we're pretty much everything on the planet at this point. If there's one I don't know about, I haven't found it yet. New episodes every Friday of that. We talk about all kinds of movies from all different eras. That's a lot of fun. And you can follow the podcast on Twitter at FilmFeastPod. You can follow me on Twitter at MattBled87. You can follow me and the podcast on Instagram at FilmFeast, which is all one word.
Beautiful. And guys, I'm here. Santino and I'll be back in a few days with continuing on. I believe we're almost done with Christmas in Crime. And then, yeah, we are almost done with Christmas in Crime. Wow. Crazy to see how fast this month just flew by. So, guys, thanks for listening in. Have a great night.